Hey everyone, this is Hotseat Mags, and you are listening to the Dynasty Hot Seat. Let's effing go!
Yes, hello and welcome to the Dynasty Hot Seat. This is a very, very special show. I had an amazing idea a couple of weeks ago and approached my good friend Mags and said, I want to get you on the show. I want to bring you into the hot seat. I want to put you there. And he loved it. And we are here. We are putting Mags in the hot seat. And let's bring you into your own show, Mags. How are you?
Yeah, it's very different. It feels weird being on this side of the screen. I'm all the way. I shifted over to the other side. It's good. I'm excited. I've trained for this for years. I've seen so many people come on the show. I'm pumped up. I'm ready to go. And Paul, you got something to say about what's flashing on the screen now as well, don't you?
Oh yeah. So half of you listening right now are not subscribed. So
Correct.
We didn't practice this, Mags, but I'm going to nail it anyway. So half of you listening right now are not subscribed. So do us a favor, hit that like, hit that bell, hit that subscribe, hit whatever it is that you want to hit. But you should be subscribed. If you're listening to the show, you should be subscribed. So go away and do that right now. And Mags, so we're going to do this amazing thing where we're going to ask you for your hints and tips. You panicked at the start and went, oh my God, I haven't got any hints and tips because you're unprepared for your show, you know? But,
yeah.
But yeah, so you've listened to everyone come on these shows and give their hints and tips. So how about you give us yours? What are the big hints and tips that you've got for the listeners?
Yeah. So I got two, and they're kind of more like a personal thing rather than this is how you win a league, right? The first one is try not to be a dickhead, right? Whenever you're in your league, don't be that guy that's like, oh, I would have given you more for that in the comments, like after. It's like, oh, you had a chance, man.
They are
right.
Dickheads.
You had a chance. Don't post me a goddamn trade calculator either. What are you doing? Go away. I don't want to see that. Like, you don't have to post me like screenshots of stuff or whatever. Like, everyone who knows anything knows that I'd go and find a different trade calculator that'll say that I won the deal. So what? Are we just going to post pictures of each other left and right all day? Try to be nice to people. Try to chat to people about things. Try and get their reasoning for it. Don't just post a picture of a trade calculator or call them stupid or like burn bridges. Like, that's not going to do you any favors at all. You want to trade with the people you like. You want to trade with your friends. The amount of times I've been like, fine, you want an extra third because it's you. Okay, fine. I'll give it to you. The amount of times I've done that and it's reciprocated as well, that's going to help you a lot more than, posting a picture of 6 players on Keep Trade Cut that add up to the value of like Devontae Adams and you saying you should take this deal because my calculator said so and I've got a screenshot of it. Don't be a dick, bro. What are you doing?
Yeah, to be honest, mate, to reiterate that, if you are trying to convince me that player's a good player, I'm probably out on that player, okay? If you're going, take Adam Thielen for Devontae Adams straight up, and I go, yeah, I'm not going to do that. And then you're going to go, yeah, but Adam Thielen is this and this and this, and he's going to do this. I'm not going to do it, okay? It's you're trying too hard, okay? You're trying too hard. But yeah, I agree with that. Don't send pictures of trade calculators. Don't do that. That's bullshit. And what you got for your second one then?
Yeah, the second one kind of ties into that and not being a dick. And it's hey, go out and thank your commissioners. So Paul, you commissioned 2 of my leagues. Thank you, man. That's a lot of extra work. And one of them in particular that you do, that's a hell of a lot of extra work. So it does not go unnoticed. Commissioners, you guys rule. So thank you all. That's awesome. So if you're listening right now, and you not thanked any of your commissioners, pause the video, go do it right now.
I would thank you, but I don't think you commission any of the leagues I'm in.
I'm too lazy. I'm too
No,
lazy.
you're just a prick.
Yeah. I break my own rules, right? That was like on the streamathon. Did you catch the start of the stream? I don't know if you were listening then. You might have caught only after. But in the first 2 minutes, I was like, Paul's not here with me and Hannah because he doesn't believe in charity and he's a bad guy.
Mate, I listened to the whole. I listened to the whole of the first hour with you guys on. I was driving my truck, and that's why I wasn't on it with you guys. And yeah, I was not feeling the beef, to be honest. I was not for this. There was a lot of shade coming my way,
Yeah, absolutely. But now you got time to get your own back because I've got the draft board up now, and what have I got to do, Paul?
So what you got to do is we're going to take you through the first 2 rounds of a rookie mock draft. So we're going to go straight in with the 101 and let you pick. I know you are controlling this, so we will try and make this look as good as we can. But who are you taking at the 101? Is it going to be the man that everyone takes?
Yeah, right. It has to be. It has to be Bijan Robinson at 1-1, even though it is super flex. I think there's a bit of an argument for it not to be Bijan if you're playing in like 14 or 16 man leagues that are super flex, and the quarterbacks are much more valuable. But he's the guy that you have to take. He's the guy that can help your team the most right away. And if your team is really bad, he's the guy that you can trade for the most value as well. And I don't think that he's built like some of these other running backs as well. I think he has got more of a chance to be your like Alvin Kamara, Ezekiel Elliott, Christian McCaffrey, these guys that have been around, get well into their second contracts and, toying with even getting a third contract in the NFL, which is pretty much unheard of for running backs. So he's made of that kind of cloth. I think he is extremely talented, and he's a guy that is just going to be great on your team for years and years to come. And yeah, there's only so much you can say about Bijan, right, Paul?
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And it's very chalky. It's a very chalky pick, as everyone comes on here and says it is that guy. It is going to be interesting to see if they do use him as a 3-down running back, because what we have seen in the NFL over the past couple of years is teams are sort of going away from having this 3-down running back. And, like you said, Ezekiel Elliott, Christian McCaffrey, Saquon Barkley, all of these guys were the 3-down running back. So it's going to be interesting to see if you're right there. And he is going to be the 3-down running back. So that takes us into the 102. Is this going to be the start of the greatest 2023 QB run? And what way are you going to do it?
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be QB here, and it's very similar to obviously whenever you were on the show not that long ago at all. It's Anthony Richardson, because I'm not messing around, Paul. I'm trying to win, okay? And if I'm going to win, Anthony Richardson is a surefire way of doing it. And guess what? If I'm not winning, I want to be last. I don't want to be in the middle. And Anthony Richardson's a surefire way of coming last as well. So you're either going to win or you're going to try again next year. I think he's the only guy you can take here, because if he doesn't do well, you got a hell of a good pick next year anyway. If he does do well, you might win. So I think he's there because he has that huge ceiling. His floor is hard to describe, because I actually don't think that he has, in terms of points being scored, I don't think that he has a particularly low floor, but what he does have is low potential longevity, if that makes any sense. So he's going to rush enough that his floor is going to be okay, kind of like Justin Fields. Justin Fields was very, very good for fantasy last year, but make no mistake about it, I bet the Bears are not that happy with Justin Fields, because they were the worst team in the NFL last year. And if they're the worst team in the NFL again this year, Justin Fields isn't going to be the quarterback for very long. Doesn't matter how many fantasy points he scores. So it could be the same thing with Anthony Richardson. He might score a lot of fantasy points, but if the Colts don't do well, they're happy to turn the page, and teams are doing it quicker and quicker and quicker. They're turning the page in these quarterbacks real fast. Now, look at Zach Wilson, number 2 overall pick. Dead now, gone, buried. And obviously, he made some interesting decisions along the way. Some of the things he said, not advisable. But teams will quickly move along from these guys if they're not happy with them. So while Richardson does have that high ceiling, high floor for fantasy points, that longevity is the thing I'm worried about the most.
Yeah, I completely agree. We've this has been part of the conversation with Lamar Jackson as well, isn't it? And it's, you know, when he got his MVP, he rushed for something like 1,100 yards that season. And, you know, there was always this talk of how long is he going to play? You know, you can't see Lamar Jackson, Justin Fields, Anthony Richardson, Jalen Hurts. You can't see any of these players doing what Tom Brady's done. I know nobody does what Tom Brady does, and it's quite rare, but, you know, Pat Mahomes, you could see still throwing the ball in 10 years' time. Can you see Lamar Jackson rushing the ball in 10 years' time the way that he is? You can't see it, you know? These running backs have a short shelf life for that exact same reason, you know? They're required to rush so much that it does take an effect on them, you know? I was only not that long ago, and I picked these two guys, so it's I've got no disagreement with what you've done so far. So we'll go straight into the 103. And who's your guy at 103?
Yeah, a 103, staying very, very similar to what you had. Now on YouTube, it's been a week since you've seen Paul on this draft. It's been about 20 minutes for us in real life. We're recording back to back here. We're putting in a shift, all right? So for a week for you, I remember exactly what he's picked, all right? I still have the tab open on the screen. So I'm going with the same guy, CJ Stroud. And spoiler, I'm gonna have the same guys for a while. But I've got CJ Stroud locked in at 3. Mainly, not because I think CJ Stroud is a better quarterback than Bryce Young. I'm not saying that. But I think CJ Stroud is a better fantasy quarterback than Bryce Young. What Bryce Young is going to need to do to become a relevant fantasy quarterback that's going to win you championships is he's going to need to be Drew Brees. He's going to need to be Tom Brady. He's going to need to be historically good at throwing the football because he ain't rushing it because he'll die. Like, he cannot leave that pocket, or he will not be Bryce Young anymore. He'll be Bryce old and dead. He is not leaving the pocket. Okay, so he's going to really, really be super elite at throwing the ball, which he could be, but CJ Stroud doesn't have to be, you know, super, super elite throwing the ball. He has to use his legs like we know he can. We've seen it done before against Georgia, of all people, so we know he can run against the Eagles, right? So all he's got to do is be accurate with the ball, run a little bit, and he's going to outscore Bryce Young most years. So I just think Stroud has got an easier path to becoming successful fantasy-wise. Wouldn't shock me if Bryce Young ends up being the better quarterback, you know, in terms of the NFL and actually, you know, lasting longer in the league.
Yeah. A smart guy came on here 20 minutes ago and picked exactly the same guy at 103. So I'm not going to disagree with you, but yeah, I agree in the terms of Bryce Young can be the better thing, but you know, like what you were saying about like Zach Wilson and players like that, you know, he was the number 2 overall pick. How many number 1 overall picked QBs have we seen leave their team so quickly after because they haven't hit, you know? It, you know, we could see that with Bryce Young. It could be a case of, you know, if he can't, like you said, if he can't throw the ball that well, he could be somebody that comes a bit stuck in this NFL, you know? He's got no rushing upside. He can't throw the ball that well, you know. What's he bring to the field, you know? So I agree with you that Stroud is a little bit above him here, to be fair. But that brings us straight to the 104, which I could guess what your next pick is because only smart guys pick these players. What's your 104 then, Mags?
My 104 is obviously it's going to be Jahmyr Gibbs, Paul.
No.
Switching it up. It's going to be Jahmyr Gibbs because I kind of just talked myself into it in the last 5 seconds. I'm not going to lie. Bryce Young, right? What, is he going to be a quarterback one ever? Is he ever going to finish in the top 12 quarterbacks fantasy-wise?
He can.
I don't know.
He can.
He can.
He can.
But is he? Or Jahmyr Gibbs? Jahmyr Gibbs, if he stays healthy, Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be a top 12 running back this year if he stays healthy. Like, you don't draft a guy that high. Those guys don't feel like historically, like you take a running back that early, they're smash hits every single time. So I'm thinking, who's going to actually help my fantasy team here? Am I happy taking Bryce Young, who's going to be a quarterback to a guy that you have in your super flex spot, someone who is he going to be Mac Jones, right? Is that what Bryce Young is going to be? This guy is kind of there and you'll start him, but you're not like too pleased about the points that he's getting. Is he a better player than Mac Jones? Yeah, absolutely. Is he going to score more points? Maybe, right? But I know for sure that Jahmyr Gibbs is going to score a lot of points. So I kind of talked myself into it there, Paul. Am I a bit crazy for that?
No, I love it, to be fair, and I love the fact that you've mixed it up a bit. You've brought the heat. You brought the heat to the certified inferno. And yes. I absolutely love it. I said Jahmyr Gibbs, however you want to say his name. He is somebody that I'm high on, and he is somebody that I'm trying to take early in the drafts. So I love the pick, but I'm going to bring you in at the 105 now, and I think I know which way you're going to go, but I'm going to try and spin it a little bit. So if you were sat at, say you were team 8, for example, would you now see the fact that a QB's dropped another pick? Would you be interested in moving up to maybe get Bryce Young? I know what you were saying about Bryce Young, but do you think that maybe there's a bit of value to move up and get that last starting QB, if that's what you need at team 8? Do you think that and if it is, what would you be looking to pay on top to move up to that spot?
Yeah, if you're like a teammate and you do need that like third quarter, realistically, you want Bryce Young to be your third quarterback or fourth quarterback. You don't want him to be if you should quarterback 1 your team, you're in trouble. If you should quarterback 2, you might be in trouble as well. So
but somebody that's finished sort of 8th, 9th, they've not got a team that can win the division or win the league. They haven't, but they've got a fairly strong team. Now, they could have been sat there last year and maybe got Tom Brady in their team. Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Maybe like a Pat Mahomes. A couple of. Oh, have I lost you?
No, I'm still here, bro.
No, the screen went blank. So if they've got Tom Brady, they've got Pat Mahomes, and I don't know, say Trevor Lawrence, they've got them 3 and you're going, oh, they're great. But now that Tom Brady's retired, they could be going, oh right, I really want one of them QBs. I don't want to, now they've dropped to 5. You may be looking and going, oh yeah, I could jump up, and I'm just intrigued to find out what you'd like to put on top of something to move up 3 spots for a QB. Would you throw, I don't know, maybe a 24-second on top to move forward?
That was kind of my initial inkling, was it'll probably take like a second round pick to move up and get that done. And I don't hate that either. If you really are desperate for a quarterback here, I think that's a fine move to make. You don't want to get stuck without a quarterback at all. I was kind of shooting for the upside a little bit more with Gibbs, but I still think Bryce Young is a good, third quarterback to have in your team. And if you do need him, if you're at 4 and you really needed a quarterback, I'm not mad at you taking Bryce Young either, obviously. So yeah, I think throwing on a second on top of that, moving up 3 spots, yeah, no problem with that at all.
So we've spoke about that, but we haven't actually got your 105 pick on the board. Is it going to be Bryce Young, or are you going to venture over to one of these wide receivers?
No, I think here it would be Bryce Young. Like I said, like the quarterbacks are so important in this. You cannot be stuck without one. So I think he is, he's good value there at 1.5. If Jackson Smith and Jigba went somewhere else, right? If he was on the Kansas City Chiefs, if he was on the LA Chargers, if he was on a more like lucrative team, then I would maybe consider it. But just considering his landing spot, he's got, some question marks over him, just like Bryce Young does. So I'm happy taking Bryce Young there at 105.
Yeah. I think that's, you can't let him drop any further than that. But that brings us to the 106. Are you going to finish off the chalky first 6 picks of any draft and complete that set? So
yeah, absolutely. This is where you have to take Jackson Smith and Jigba off the board. He is the number 1 wide receiver in this draft. It might take him a little while to warm up. I'm convinced we're going to have a Devonta Smith moment here where he might come out and have his first couple of games and people are feeling down on him and there's a buy window. Go buy him. Like the same way you should have with Devonta Smith. Go buy Jackson Smith and Jigba if a window opens because of target share, because of, him taking a while to learn the playbook or whatever. This guy is too good on tape for him not to be a success here. So you might be able to throw out, an offer like a future first or something like that might get it done. See what you could do to grab somebody like Jackson Smith and Jigba if that buy window opens. It might not, but I just have a sneaky feeling that it might. What do you think, Paul?
Yeah, I agree with you. To be fair, I think there is going to be a buy window, and I think it's something like a lot of, we play Dynasty and Dynasties all year round, but I kind of feel that week 1, a lot of people's mindset goes straight to redraft. You know what I mean? And I think if DK Metcalf week 1 comes out and absolutely dominates a game, we're talking 10, 11 targets, 100 yards, touchdown. JSN gets 1 target for 9 yards. Then week 2, DK comes out again, and it's sort of like, again, 8, 9 targets, something like that. Has a great game. JSN walks away with 2 targets, 1 in the red zone, say. I think then is when you jump on it. A lot of people probably wouldn't sell him that cheap then and sort of go, oh, I'm still hoping. But I think if you could, if you're missing that one piece and you're willing to give away a first for that, I think that's quite a thing to do. And I think, if that can maintain that for the first couple of weeks, and he may have a game with 4 or 5 targets in, but I think if he comes out week 1 and has sort of 6 or 7 targets, I think he's going to be hard to buy on a cheap. Then I think people will be all in on him,
Yeah, so, the Devonta Smith thing, I've just looked it up. It was 8 targets, 6 receptions, 7 targets, 2 receptions, 6 targets, 3 receptions, and then 7 and 7, and then 2. And then there was the buy window because people were kind of like, not really feeling them. And then, of course, look what he's done this year. Finishes receiver 9 overall.
Yeah, it's I love the theory behind it. I love the theory that, and that's the thing with Dynasty as well. It's you're always trying to keep active and keep maintaining that team turnover, and active people will always win. Active people will always win. If you're not active, you won't win. But yeah, so that takes us to the end of the 106. Or the first 6 picks, and now is where everyone is sort of saying the drafts really start. So where are we going at 107?
It doesn't really, though, right? It doesn't really, because everyone takes the same guy at 107 anyway. I feel like it's the first 7 picks, honestly. Like so more than anything else.
You're going to take Will Levis as well, are you?
I'm taking Ali Cook's outside bet, for anyone who doesn't know. It's Jordan Addison, the guy that is great odds for Offensive Rookie Player of the Year. I love Jordan Addison. I love the landing spot. I love the confidence. Love to suit at the draft. How awesome was that? I think this guy is going to really, really do well at the Minnesota Vikings because he's got Justin Jefferson there, because he's got TJ Hawkinson there, because they've got pretty decent run game. Who knows what's going to happen with Dalvin Cook, but Alexander Madison is a perfectly capable back to have there. Yeah, I think everything's set up for success for Jordan Addison. The Vikings still will probably suck defensively next year, So they're going to have to throw the ball a lot still, just like they did last year. One of the highest scoring offenses in the league. This is going to be awesome for Jordan Addison. I think we're going to be talking about this time next year, who's got the best wide receiver duo in the league. Is it, the AJ Brown and Devontae Smith? Is it T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, or is it Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison? That's how good I think he is.
Are you not putting DK and JSN in that list?
DK, JSN, yeah, absolutely. Put them in there too. And Kadarius Tony Sky Moore, obviously, as well.
Or Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle.
Oh, yeah, right. I think that's how good Jordan Addison is, right? He can be in that conversation with obviously Justin Jefferson. That helps a hell of a lot. But he could be in that conversation with those guys, because people aren't going to just dismiss Addison like as this guy. Like he doesn't. It's only Justin Jefferson. I think he's that good that he can be in that conversation.
Yeah. I love it. I love that pick. I think it's spot on for where he is. So we'll jump straight into the 108, and where are we off to with this one then, Max?
You ready? 108. Dalton Kincaid.
Yeah. Yeah. Your pick that you traded to me. Yeah, that's who I took at 108 in that league. I took Dalton Kincaid.
And I loved it. I thought that was a great pick. And here's why. Here's what nobody's talking about, right? Dalton Kincaid. He's lit up there in orange or yellow or whatever color you want to say it. If that was blue, you take Dalton Kincaid at 1-8 every single time. If he's listed as a wide receiver, you take him above Zay Flowers. You take him above these other guys, because you're like, wow, I've got to take wide receiver 2 in that Bills team. Guess what? Dalton Kincaid is wide receiver 2 on that Bills team. Just because he's listed at tight end, he's not going to play tight end. Mike Gesicki's listed as a tight end. He's never played tight end in his life, right? Dalton Kincaid isn't marking anybody. He's not blocking anybody. He's catching passes. He's a wide receiver. So that's why I'm taking him at 8. I'm taking the second option in a Bills team with Josh Allen, with an aging Stephon Diggs. Hell yeah, 1-8 Dalton Kincaid.
Yeah. So I just looked at our trade, and you got the Treylon Burks, you got the 201 and 2024 first, and I got Stephon Diggs and Dalton Kincaid. So I've got a little Buffalo stat going there. So
that's nice.
I'm going to get the fans engaged. So if please in the comments put who won that trade, and let us know it. Let us know in the comments below.
I am banking on your team sucking next year, but Dalton Kincaid and Stephon Diggs doesn't help. But I'm banking on that 24 first being high. That's a gamble. I needed to blow the team up. I was holding on to Diggs. I needed to blow up anyway. But yeah,
you're banking on my team to suck. I've now got Pat Mahomes, ETN, Bijan Robinson, Stephon Diggs, Christian Watson, Marquise Brown, Dalton Kincaid. Oh, mate. Oh, what have you done here?
Yeah.
Looks like you're having a 112 next year,
I know. Yeah. Hopefully not. We'll see what happens. It's all a bit of fun. That's a fun league to be in. So I don't mind trading stuff.
Amazing, it's amazing. But yeah, so Dalton Kincaid at the 108. I love the pick. I do think it's maybe a little bit early for a non-tight end premium sort of league. I do think that's maybe
not
a
tight end,
bit
bro.
early.
It doesn't matter.
You are? Oh, he's not a
tight end, bro.
But he is a tight end, though, isn't he? I definitely think he is in the conversation of this area. So yeah, let's go on to the 109. Where are we going at 109?
Yeah, so at 109, again, I'm not sure if this is quite consensus. I don't think it is. I'm going Devin Achane at 1-9, right after Dalton Kincaid. I think that Achane, again, is a slam dunk. Got the perfect landing spot. He's a difference maker on your team. Like I said with Anthony Richardson, I'm looking to win. I'm looking for difference makers. I'm gambling all the time. I'm trading with you, hoping Treylon Burks is going to hit. I'm hoping that the 24 first is going to hit. I'm willing to take these chances because I don't care if they blow up, because if I'm not first, I want to be last. And making gambles like that is absolutely fine in my idea. The last thing I want to do here is take someone that I know is going to be okay, because then I'm going to have to play them and start them, and then I'm going to chug along my team. I'm going to be stuck in the middle, and I'm just going to be picking okay players until I do something drastic. So I'd rather take these risks, and I think Devon Achane here at 1-9 potentially could be a game changer for my team. Now, if it's at 1-9, I'm very close to being good enough. And if Devon Achane hits, having a real solid running back that contributes heavily, that's usually enough to get your team to another level.
Yeah. And to be honest, I think any running back in a Shanahan style offense is always somebody that you want a piece of. And I agree here. Devon Achane is somebody that I want all the pieces of, to be fair. But yeah, so we're going to go over to the 110. Are we gonna go back to these wide receivers, or are we going to a different position?
Yeah, at 110, I'm actually going to go Will Levis here. I think that it is super flex. I think Will Levis is well worth the gamble here at 110. I mean, and again, I'm sort of torn here between a few, but I'm like, if Will Levis hits, I'm going to be kicking myself for so long that I took Quentin Johnson or Isaiah Flowers ahead of Will Levis, because these guys, they might be good receivers, but Will Levis has a chance, to be like, if Will Levis hits, he's going to score way, way, way more points, right? It's not even going to be close. So I'm quite happy taking Will Levis here and taking a little bit of a gamble on him hitting and becoming, a pretty good starting quarterback. And maybe a little bit too early, but for a quarterback, sometimes you got to take things a bit early.
Yeah, I agree. I've always thought that this area now, this back end of the first, start of the second, is a bit of a dark spot. But to be honest, I think if I was in this draft, I think I'd be looking to move into that 111 now. I think there's a player there that I really like, and I'm quite high on now. So I think I'd be looking, if I was maybe at the 201, I think I'd be quite happy to give that and maybe my 301 and see if I could get that done and move up now to sort of the 111 to get this guy. But we'll see if that's the guy that you're going to pick, if you're going to pick the guy that I'd want. So where we going at the 111?
Yeah, so at 111, a guy I'm not really high on is Quentin Johnson. However, enough people are kind of talking about how much they do like him. I'm not, ears closed all the time. I don't think that I know better than everybody else. So of course I'm willing to listen to the tons of people that believe in this guy. And I think I said it whenever you were on here. I might not believe in Quentin Johnson, but you better believe I believe in Justin Herbert. And that guy's talented. And Quentin Johnson is going to be helped so much. Going from catching passes from Max Duggan to Justin Herbert is like driving a Fiesta and then driving a Porsche. It's a completely different deal altogether. They might both be called a car, but they're really a completely different machine underneath everything. So I think while Johnson did drop a lot of passes, Justin Herbert is going to throw passes that cannot be dropped. So that's really going to help Johnson. I do have trepidation about the lack of good coaching that appears to be happening over at the Chargers. That might not be the best thing for him, but you're getting a guy that this time next year could be Justin Herbert's main weapon. Hell yeah. Like, I'll take that risk at 111.
Yeah, love that pick. Love that pick. I'm a bit higher on Johnson than others. I'd have taken him before Kincaid there, to be honest. But I love that pick. I love where the value that you've got there. If you could get Johnson at the back end of the first. So with that'll bring us to the last pick of round one. And where are you going to finish off round one? Which way we're going to go?
Was he the guy you would have traded? Was he the guy you would have traded?
Yes,
up for?
Yeah, he would have been the guy that I'd have moved up for. I think he's a great player.
Yep, yeah, and I can totally see that as well. So where am I? 112. Let's go Zay Flowers at the 112. I think that's That's pretty fair place for him. I don't think we'll see the best of Zay Flowers until maybe next 2 seasons, I would say. I think Odell Beckham Jr. coming in, he'll take a lot of the target share. Mark Andrews is obviously there. That's going to be, Jackson's number one target. Rashad Bateman, when Rashad Bateman is fit and healthy, that guy is so good. I'm such a huge Rashad Bateman fan, but it's, is he going to be the same after another injury? Is he going to stay healthy? Hard to trust at this stage. So Zay Flowers might not fully get a role until next year, but you gotta be aware of that. Don't panic if Zay Flowers is coming out and getting only peppered with a couple of targets a game. There'll be games when he scores 0 points for your fantasy team. Absolutely. Zay Flowers is a great taxi squad guy, I think. Leave him on there, forget about him, and then whenever he's starting to come along, take him off that taxi squad ready for not next year, but for 2024. That's where I see Zay Flowers at the minute.
Yeah, I like that. I like that take. I thought a bit different on my show, but I'll probably look at him a bit different now. I love where you've taken that. So that's the end of round one. I think, to be honest, I think if looking back at round one, I think that's quite a chalky round. I know we all said, like you said, we all say that the draft is the same till round 6. I think you've got the same players that I'd expect to go in round one, a different order.
Yeah.
But I think the first 12 players off the board are quite set in stone on who they're going to be. So let's get into round 2 and see what sort of rabbit holes you can take us down now. Where are we going at the 201?
Yeah, so round 1, yeah, I am noticing that as well. It is kind of the same 12 guys quite a lot. I'm trying to scroll through here and see if anybody else kind of sneaks into that first round. Not a lot of them really. I mean, you might see someone like a Mingo sneak in there at some stage, but really not a lot of these guys are sneaking into that first round. And at the start of the second round, it's going to stay pretty chalky as well. I'm going to go with Zach Charbonnet here. I think that he was everyone's sort of consensus running back 2 coming in. I think he's definitely talented. He's a really good player. He's coming into a Seahawks team that love to run the ball. So he's going to get plenty of opportunity, on the ground. And I think he's going to be the pass catching back as well for them. I'm pretty sure that's why he's been brought in to do that role.
Yeah, I think he can be the better receiving back in that field. To be fair, and like you said, when I was on, it was him and Kenneth Walker have both got the same draft capital. So, I think they're both similar kind of value players in a sense of either one could win that role there. So yeah, I suppose you want a piece of that cake. So let's go straight into the 202. Are you keen to pull the trigger on another tight end at the moment, or
not just yet? I don't think because it's not tight end premium as we talked about. But I think Dalton Kincaid will be utilized as like a big receiver. Michael Mayer's going to play tight end. Like Michael Mayer is going to be blocking people. Michael Mayer is going to catch some passes, but he's going to do all the dirty work at tight end. Sam Laporta maybe not so much. So he's an interesting guy. We'll get to him or Michael Mayer a little bit later, I'm sure, but not quite for now, because now what I'm going to do is at 2-2, I'm going to take Henry Miller here at 2-2. I think he's a guy that he's got an opportunity. And I'm thinking about, right, what's happening with Alvin Kamara's legal situation? What is happening overall at the Saints? Is Alvin Kamara even going to play at all next year? Kendra Miller is the next guy up, I think, in that offense. And he's a good player. I was beating the drum for Kendra Miller the whole sort of pre-draft process. Everybody had Zach Evans ahead of Kendra Miller. I was like, what the hell are people I couldn't understand it, because this is a guy, we've seen them both play on the same team, and I seen Kendra Miller play better. And then we've seen Zach Evans transfer, and we've seen him lose snaps to Rashawn Judkins. Believe me, we're going to be talking about that guy Judkins in a couple of years. He is very, very good. But I always thought Kendra Miller was a better running back. I'm glad that he got the draft capital. The only thing that does concern me is the heights that he has jumped up, pre-combine and pre-NFL draft, when we did rookie mocks, you get Kendre Miller, sometimes even back end of the second, third round. He has jumped up almost a full round in ADP. So that does worry me a little bit when someone jumps that much. But in terms of opportunity, that is, so important at that running back position. Just get on the field. We've seen less talented guys than Kendre Miller do really well at running back in the NFL.
Do you worry that Jamal Williams will step in as that goal line back like he did at Detroit last year? Do you think that Kendre Miller, in the games where Alvin Kamara is potentially not there, do you think that do you worry that maybe he's the guy, a bit like DeAndre Swift? He was the guy to get them down the field, and then all of a sudden they're on the 5-yard line and Jamal Williams is the back and he just runs straight through the middle of everyone, Do you worry about that role for him?
Yeah, that could definitely happen. The only thing about that is, like, we haven't seen Jamal Williams do that, like, on that level super consistently. He might have had a career year last year, and he probably did. I guess as good as we'll ever see Jamal Williams playing.
Yeah. I'm just trying to see when Alvin Kamara is out of contract, because that's the other thing that could play into Kendre Miller's hands is when Kamara is out of contract. But yeah, we'll move swiftly on to the 203. Are we continuing this running back run, or are we going to go to a different position?
Yeah, so this is where it gets a little bit like, could take this guy. This is where the draft kind of becomes a little bit less and less exciting. I'm actually going to go back.
It's quite personal now, isn't it? It's who you've personally got a preference on. A lot of these players are very similar in ADP and everything like that. And I think we're at the point now where it's your personal opinion on who you would take at this point.
And what I'm probably doing here is, if I have multiple drafts where I have the 2-3, I'm taking multiple different people. I'm just spreading across who I've picked in what situation. But what I'm going to go with is the guy that I think I picked at 2-3 just today, Marvin Mims here at 2-3. Again, just based on who do I think is going to have an opportunity. I think Sean Payton taking him as his first pick is really important. I think the fact that they've got Jerry Jeudy in there, who is like a real solid receiver, but has had trouble staying healthy. They've got Courtland Sutton, who's terrible, who's not going to be any competition at all. I think Marvin Mims can be used really cleverly. They can run sweeps with him. They can get him involved. The guy's really, really quick. He sneakily put up 1,000 yards in college last year. He's got Russell Wilson, who, who knows what's going to happen? He's got to be better. He's got to be better, right? And if he's not, I know people are like, oh, well, the Broncos, they're tied to him for so many years. Sean Payton, he did not sign that contract to lose. He'll bench Russell Wilson happily. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with him. But I think he's got a chance to succeed.
That hot seat is getting to you, man. You're on about benching Russell Wilson now. Woo, we're bringing the heat. Yeah, I love the Mims pick. I think he can. If Russ cooks, he could be a great pick there. And that takes us to the 204. And we're what part of the country are we off to now?
Yeah, the 2-4. So there's a couple of people that we could go with here. I'm just kind of scrolling down to make sure I'm not missing anybody in particular. I don't think that I am. Yeah, at the 2-4 here, I'm going to lock in Rashee Rice. So,
what a great pick!
Is that exactly who you picked at 2-4?
No, I think I had them two the other way around.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah.
So Rashee Rice, and a guy that I want to come away with some shares of. Don't be shocked if he comes out. I think Rashee Rice is another taxi squad guy. I think don't be shocked. It takes rookies and Andy Reid's system a long time to figure it out and to learn the playbook. Okay, the reason why Mahomes and Reid are such an amazing duo. Patrick Mahomes not only has he got the best arm in the NFL, he's got photographic memory as well. So this guy reads something and has it immediately. So it's almost like Andy Reid has got his own like PlayStation controller with Patrick Mahomes. He's just doing exactly what he wants to do. Rashee Rice is going to struggle to learn that playbook, just like Sky Moore struggled to learn that playbook, just like Clyde Edwards-Helaire even struggled to learn that playbook. Rookies find it hard traditionally in the Andy Reid system. So again, don't be shocked, just like Zay Flowers, if Rashee Rice comes out and doesn't post any points one week. Stick him on your taxi squad. Just wait and see. You'll probably see Sky Moore come on a little bit this year because he's had time to learn that system. You probably see other people come on a little bit. But Rashee Rice, I think you got to wait on him until he really flourishes.
Yeah, it's hard to disagree with that. I said I always want pieces of one of the best teams in the NFL, and it pains me to say, but the Chiefs are one of the best teams in the NFL. You know, if you have to leave him on your taxi squad for 12 months, you leave him on your taxi squad for 12 months. You know,
yeah,
he may hit, he may not, but I want pieces of that Chiefs team because there's a lot of success there for a long time to come. And so with that, we'll move into the 205 and to your next pick, Mags.
Yeah, at 205 here, I'm going with Tyjae Spears, actually. A guy that he's on tape, he's so exciting to watch. He's, someone that everyone fell in love with during the Senior Bowl. We all see what he did to that linebacker from Pitt who's still sliding down. Like, he still has not got up. He absolutely had him on toast. Like, the fact that he's ended up on the Titans for this year, bad. All right. But we all know the cliff is coming for Derrick Henry eventually. And Tyjae Spears is good enough to lead an NFL offense. I'm sure of it. He's shown enough on tape. He's going to learn from Derrick Henry, who, I mean, everyone might just think, oh, Derrick Henry's only good because he's like the biggest and strongest guy. Derrick Henry reads offenses really well. Derrick Henry makes really clever cuts. Derrick Henry, people forget, when he came into the NFL, he wasn't the Derrick Henry we know now. He had to work hard. He had to stop running into people, just trying to bulldoze people over. He had to learn things. So that wisdom hopefully is there that he can pass on, King Henry to Prince Tyjae.
Are you worried that he has no ACLs?
Can't injure them, mate.
Yeah,
can't pull an ACL if it's not there.
I suppose you can't do it. You can't do it, but I don't know. I don't think you. So it worries me a little bit. It worries me that he, if I suppose I'm looking at it in a sense, and I may be completely wrong with this, but if you were better and you can't tear your ACL if you haven't got an ACL, surely it would be a thing where everyone's like, I'm just going to get rid of my ACL, then I can't tear it. It's not there, But
they might after Tyjae.
Yeah, he's the only one I know that hasn't got an ACL. So
yeah,
I don't know. He may surprise us, but
what doesn't put me off from that is the Tennessee Titans are a multi-million-dollar corporation with the best doctors money can buy, and they've okayed it. So if it's good enough for them, good enough for me.
Good enough for you. It's good enough for two.
Yes.
Sorry, we're just singing songs here. But yeah, so Mags, we'll go straight into the 206 and your next pick. Are we in the area where we'd be discussing another tight end yet, or are we still not quite there yet?
Not quite. We're getting closer though for sure. I quite like a couple of these running backs here, but maybe a little bit later on. We're going to actually have a little look at the wide receiver well again, and we're going to go with Josh Downs. Josh Downs, a guy. So almost the opposite of what we spoke about with Kendre Miller, where he's risen up a full round. Josh Downs has dropped down from his pre sort of draft. He's dropped down quite a bit, and I'm quite happy to pick a guy that everybody was high on based on just the tape and just his performance at the combine. I'm quite happy to take him here, 6 or so picks later than he was going before the draft, because he didn't actually get that bad of a landing spot, and his draft capital was maybe a round later than we thought, but not drastically further than what I thought he was going to go.
I love it. I love it. And I'm going to answer you the same way you answered me when I took it. He's a good compliment to Michael Pittman.
Yeah, absolutely agree. Wise words.
Yeah, brilliant. The guy that said that is a very, very wise man. And with that, we're going to go straight into your 207. What are we saying here then, Mags? Are we going to go running back, or are we sticking with the wide receiver?
Yeah, so if we look at the receivers left here, there's a couple of guys that have sort of shot up the draft board. I'm going to go with one of them, even though I don't necessarily love it. I'm going to go Jonathan Mingo here. The reason why I don't love it is because he's someone that hasn't risen up slightly. He has drastically risen up the board. Him and another guy we might talk about a little bit later, both of them risen up, guys that were going in the 4th round, before we had our draft night, and obviously they got good draft capital, but these are players that on tape people thought were 4th round players, and now people are saying they're 2nd round players. It sits a little uneasy with me, so I think I've maybe taken Mingo a little bit later than most would here. He might not be here, at this stage. I've seen some people even take him as high as the 1st, but this is where I'm putting him based on, averages and things put together.
Yeah, so but I understand what you're saying, that all these people thought he was a 4th round wide receiver, but the NFL, the Carolina Panthers as such thought that he was worthy of the 2nd round draft capital, so they're fairly high on him, and that gives me a lot of fantasy analysts and everything like that. They always say they don't really look at landing spot, they look at draft capital more than anything. And he has the draft capital here to, I suppose, warrant being picked this early. You know what I mean? And I suppose a lot of fantasy analysts looked at him and thought he's not that great. He's a 4th round pick, but in reality, the NFL have gone, or Carolina Panthers have gone, he's worth a 2nd round pick. Let's go and get him. So I'm quite confident in the fact that the Panthers gave him such high draft capital that I think he is, I wouldn't be taking him much before this. I definitely wouldn't go in the first. I don't think he's a 1st round player for me, but yeah, I think that's outstanding value at 207, if I'm honest. And with that, we're going to go straight into the 208 and your next pick.
Yeah, well, I was just trying to find actually like a list of wide receivers that have been like taken in the 2nd round of the NFL draft the last couple of years. It's not great reading. Just say that. Not great reading. So I know it is good draft capital technically, but doesn't guarantee success. But we'll have to wait and see with Mingo.
I'm not saying he is going to get that success.
No, absolutely not. Yeah.
Every single person is a risk, a dart throw. I think if you look at the percentage of how many fantasy wide receivers hit in round 2, you're probably talking 20% or less. Like, if
absolutely.
So when you look at that and you go 20%, you're probably looking at one of the, say, if you draft 5, one of the wide receivers is going to be fantasy relevant. You know what I mean?
That's maths.
You know what I mean? We're not only are we teaching you about fantasy, we're teaching you maths as well. Big Shaq's going to write a song about me and you, Mags. But to me, it is every pick is a risk. Everyone is an educated thing. But if I'm always going to look at people that I do look at landing spots. I know people don't look at, I don't care about landing spots. It's talent over landing spots and stuff. But I think that's round 1. Round 2 to me is a landing spot can change everything, And Rashee Rice, maybe you can confirm, what round was he picked?
Back end of the 2nd, sort of start of the 3rd.
You know what I mean? He's around that area. So his, Jonathan Mingo was taken before him in the NFL draft, but I prefer Rice because of the landing spot. They both got the same round draft capital in the NFL draft, but I'm higher up on him because he landed with the Chiefs. But I think Mingo's a great pick, but we're getting a bit off track now. So let's go back to your 208. Let's find out where we're going.
let's get 208 locked in, and I'm going to go back, I think, to the running back well here. I'm going to take Roschon Johnson here. Again, I'm thinking about potential, what chances he have. I think he's going to share a backfield probably with Khalil Herbert next year. Justin Fields does worry me a little bit, how much he runs with the ball, but Roschon Johnson, I think, is a pretty good pass catcher. I think Khalil Herbert, I think him and Khalil Herbert are very, evenly matched. I think I'm going to like watching those two. It could be a real, actual 50-50 split. Hopefully, the Bears are slightly better and they're not just going to be playing from behind the whole time again. But if I'm just trying to see a path for Roschon Johnson to become the main guy in an offense, I can kind of see it if I squint, which I'm happy enough with at the second round.
Yeah. I love that pick there, to be fair. Real big fan of it. So we're going to go to the 209 and your next player.
Yeah, 209. This is where I'm tempted to bring in here. I'm actually going to go probably a little bit earlier than you should. I'm actually going to lock in Sam Laporta here. Now, the reason for that is Jameson Williams, right? He's not going to play for a while. So Sam Laporta has just suddenly got himself a bit of an opportunity on that team. He's got, obviously, Amon-Ra St. Brown is there. He's obviously got Jahmyr Gibbs there. But everybody else knows that as well. So I think Sam Laporta could see himself, in an opportunity where he can catch quite a lot of passes. We've seen it already with TJ Hawkinson. He thrived in that offense. One thing I will say, though, is we heard the rumors that Dan Campbell got rid of DeAndre Swift because he was quote-unquote soft. Sam Laporta better block, and he better do it well. Otherwise, he's not going to even be on the field. That's my only trepidation with Sam Laporta is if Dan Campbell gets it in his head that you can't block, you're not tough enough, he's not even going to play at all. But if he does, I think he's got a really good chance of carving out a nice pass catching role, especially with Williams gone.
Oh yeah. I'm a big fan of Laporta this year. To be fair, in this draft, I think maybe a bit early if it's non-tight end premium. I think tight end premium, you're definitely at that point where we'd be discussing these tight ends, and I do like Laporta. To be fair, he's my tight end 3 in this rookie class. So maybe we get to chat about the other one, but let's go to 10.
The reason I've gone from there really is next up at 210, I'm looking at the guys who have got here. Do I see an opportunity for any of these running backs being the guy, carving out a significant role? Not really. The wide receivers, not really. Not really. If I look at it, do I see any of them really taking over there? It's I can't really see that. Sam Laporta, I think, has a chance to break through that glass ceiling at tight end that I don't think Michael Mayer has any chance of doing. I don't think Michael Mayer is going to be a top 6 tight end. He's going to finish in that tight end mush, where Hayden Hurst lives, where Evan Ingram lives, where all these other guys live, and they all switch around every single year, and they all get basically the same amount of points. Yeah. And that's because he's so good at football. He's an amazing blocker. He's going to block so much. He's a very, very talented player. But I'm looking for good fantasy players. And I think Sam Laporta will be a better fantasy player and potentially just get me more points than these guys. I'm just looking to pick up points. So I think Sam Laporta will get me points. And at this pick, that's my same kind of thought here. Who's going to pick me up some points here? I think it's going to be Jalen Hyatt from these guys. He's got little to no competition there at New York. He's a guy we know has home run ability. We know can break off these big plays. Perfect best ball player, Jalen Hyatt, I think. So he's got a chance to carve out a nice role there, become even the number 1 receiver there. Obviously, Darren Waller might end up being the number 1 target, but I think Hyatt's got a chance to carve himself out a nice role. And that's all I'm looking for at this point is who's got a chance to get on the field and score points, and I think these guys do.
Yeah, I agree. I love the spiciness of you think Darren Waller's going to be the number 1 target in that team.
I mean, my boy Daniel Bellinger, though. Let's not forget about him. Like,
You know
just
what I
saying.
mean? Your one true love, your one true
Yes.
love, Daniel Bellinger.
Yeah.
Where's
I
he
don't
like
see.
15th target now? Like,
Yeah, Daniel Bellinger is. I'd say my spiciest take of the whole off season. It's going to be that Daniel Bellinger is going to play better than Darren Waller, and Darren Waller is going to lose snaps and that. That's the spiciest one I've got.
the
Like,
hot seat's getting to him.
It's too much. It's way too.
If your head was further up in this screen, mate, you wouldn't have said that. But you're down there and you're just like
The flames. It's
I'm
hot.
throwing flame balls out everywhere.
It is.
So you heard it here. You heard it here first, guys. Hot Seat Mags thinks that Daniel Bellinger is going to beat Darren Waller in the tight end battle at New York. So
easily.
with that, we're going to go straight into the 211. You can't say things like this about players, saying, I remember saying that Kyle Pitts was average and I just got abused for it every time. So every time I just mentioned there, so you can't say that he's going to easily beat him because people will just abuse you for it.
Daniel Bellinger is a dynasty darling. I should be okay. I hope I should be okay with that.
But yeah, where are we going at 211 then, mate?
All right, 211. Do I take Hendon Hooker here? No, not really. I don't think I'm going to take Hendon Hooker at 211.
I think he's in the conversation now at this point.
I think this is almost time for Hendon Hooker. Looking at the other guys that are still available, I mean, I suppose here I'll have to take this guy right. Again, I don't really like the talent too much. Jalen Reed. He got the good draft capital. Again, he's moving up. Actually, he's the only guy that during my pre-draft process, I gathered ADP from like any kind of dynasty show you can think of. I watched their mock draft and I wrote down who they drafted. Jalen Reed, pre-combine, didn't appear once in any draft at all. 3 rounds, 4 rounds, 2 rounds, whatever it was. I did not see the name Jalen Reed mentioned in any mock draft that I watched. And now he obviously has good draft capital. He's going high up in these drafts. I'm happy enough taking him at the back of the second because of the draft capital, because of what people are saying, because he's got a chance to carve out a role. But I wouldn't be shocked if, in 2 years' time, people are like, what was that guy called that the Packers took?
Yeah. So I am a member of Rich Cooling's Patreon.
Yeah.
And I'm probably quite high on him because listening to Rich talk about him, and Rich is very high on Jaden Reed, and he's opened my eyes to him a little bit. I'm a bit higher than you on Jaden Reed. So but yeah, I'm happy to take him, pull the trigger earlier. If I mentioned in my show, I think I got him at the 304 in one of my drafts. So if I'm at the back end of the second and he's still there, I'm pulling the trigger at 211. I'm very happy with getting him there, to be fair.
Yeah, absolutely. And that helps. And that's like good advice for everybody, even if it's a player that you're not particularly high on. Like if other people like Rich Cooling or like Tom or like other people are really high on players, you gotta listen to those guys because you're not going to be right every single time. So the reason why I'm willing to take Jalen Reed with a second round pick is because guys like that who I listen to and who I trust, and I'll listen to more than like one podcast, listen to a few different ones, and if a couple of people are saying take this guy high, then put your opinion aside for a while and don't be afraid to take them.
Yeah, these like you said, I kind of listen to these guys and do trust these guys. We're obviously part of the wildcard crew and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I listen to them sort of people and I listen to all their podcasts and stuff. And Jaden Reed is a name I've heard quite a few times now. So I'm smashing it. 211. I'm absolutely smashing that pick. But that's going to bring us to the last pick of the Hot Seat Mags' rookie draft, and where are we going to go? Are you going to bring some spice with this last pick? I'm like,
how I'm scrolling down.
Zach Kuntz, are you going to pick him?
I've picked up a lot of Zach Kuntz, by the way. Thank you very much, Paul.
No, it's no fun if you say it that way.
Because I thought he was going to be one of my sleeper picks, Paul. Actually, I'll just full screen. Just because he's so damn big. The guy's like pushing 6 foot now. He's like 6'8". There's not a huge amount of competition over there that he has to beat. Like, did he not have like the highest athletic score in the history of the combine? There's a lot of upside there with Zach Kuntz. So just he's one of my sleepers for leader. So you got that already. But let's round out this draft. Let's get the last pick. I mean, I'm gonna go Tank Bigsby here. Michael Mayer did cross my mind, but again, I mean, Michael Mayer's a dime a dozen. I think in fantasy, you can pick this guy up. You may as well have Hayden Hurst on your team. Like, he's like going to score roughly around the same amount of points as him. Probably, again, not because he's a bad player, but because he's such a good player. He's such a good blocker, and yeah, I'm not really interested in owning those tight ends really. So I'm going to take Tank Bigsby. He's going to get on the field. He's going to play a bit. And then with running backs at this stage, you're hoping for an injury, really. So if ETN gets injured, which we know historically he has, then Bigsby's got a shot. And at the back end of the second, I'll happily take that shot.
I love it. So that's the end of your 2 rounds. So as always, is there anyone that you'd like to mention, as you said, like sleepers or names of players that you think are people that they should be targeting in the 3rd or maybe the 4th round? Is there anyone you want to talk about?
Yeah, I wouldn't waste your time on wide receivers in the 3rd and 4th round, to be honest with you, because historically, like, it's almost 0% chance that you're going to get a wide receiver in the 3rd or 4th round that's going to hit. So what I would do is actually just go look at running back and I suppose tight end as well. For people like Kuntz, who we talked about, right? That would be a good pickup. Looking at running back, guys like Sean Tucker, obviously has health concerns. This is a guy that before the combine, he was ADP number 12. He was going in the 1st round. So I'm looking at someone like that whose value has dropped a lot. I'm looking at people like, say this goddamn quietly, Paul. Dwayne McBride, right? Dwayne McBride. Don't tell too many people.
Yeah.
But he's got chance. He's there. You can see the path. You can see Cook being cut, traded, whatever. Madison, he's never been able to carve out that full role. McBride is an angry, tough runner. Really fun to watch. He's a guy that I can see a fan base falling in love with as well. He's got a bit of a chance, so I love picking him up. He's my most owned rookie so far this year. Snapping him up everywhere that I can. So I like Dwayne McBride there. Other guys in here, not really. I think that's all I got for you. Keaton Mitchell. I picked up Keaton Mitchell just because our guy Dan over at 5 Yard likes him. So I picked up a couple of him in the 4th round as well. So shout out to Dan.
Yeah, I do you know what? I listened to that show as well, and I've picked up a couple of Keaton Mitchell as well. But yeah, so with that brings us to the end of this special Dynasty Hot Seat. Mags, is there anything you'd like to plug before we go?
This goddamn show. Why don't you subscribe? Why don't you like and do all that stuff? Yeah, well, we're an hour 8 minutes in. You've probably done all that. So thank you so much for listening, everybody. Always a pleasure to have your ears tuning into the show.
Yeah. So guys, thanks for tuning in. Do what Mag said, like and subscribe. And remember to keep yourselves and your team lit.
Lit. Yes.